special guest today. I have Ben from Rather Inventive. Great to have you on the show this morning, Ben.
Hello. Yeah, nice to be here.
So, cool. And how was your weekend, Ben?
Very nice. I took the family up to the Science Museum and we went to a special exhibit called Power Up, where they had hundreds of old console games. My children have just been talking about Fortnite all the time, and they have not played it. And I wanted to introduce them some good classic retro games.
Real games.
Real games.
Yeah, I've noticed actually in Cardiff there's quite a few shops springing up that sell that sort of stuff. So there's definitely a thing around that at the moment, retro gaming. So before we get into the body of the show, welcome everybody. If you're just beginning to join us now, if you'd like to say hi to let us know you're watching, that would be great. And if you have any questions for Ben and I, that would be brilliant. But perhaps we can kick off, Ben. If you could just sort of say a few words about yourself and your business, that would be awesome.
So I haven't really had a proper job in my whole career, really. I think the first job I had was out of university for about a year and a half. Then I took a break traveling, and then I've been self-employed ever since. So that was around 2001. Working really on my own or with a few other people. But what we do now, the company is called Rather Inventive, and we help people with marketing, web development, a little bit of social media, but not as much as you, Jonathan. It's more the sort of holistic nature of how it all comes together. And we've been doing that for 9 years. What little bit about our business? Really, we work remotely. We've got a few employees, but mainly we work with contractors in different areas. Specialists in terms of training, copywriting, web development, and my job really is to bring all that together.
Cool. Thanks for that. So I just noticed actually a bit of could be a technical thing here. Let me just check something on Facebook.
Always good.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are actually going out here. Let me just see. Could be a technical thing here. Let me just check something. Oh no, yeah, all good. Right, I think we are back. So the name Rather Inventive, that's kind of quite intriguing. Is that the intention to intrigue people? Where did you get the name from?
Well, one of our employees at the time, Al Osmond, who's actually recently left us, but he'd been working with me for about 13 years. God bless him. I don't know how he coped for so long. But when we were starting up the company, because we were actually moving out from one company into another, sort of de-merging, if you will. And we just literally wrote lists of names down. Just name after name after name. We all took scraps of paper home and just wrote down all the names that came to us, brought them together and filtered them down. And eventually Rather Inventive stuck because we felt it was something a little bit different. It's not as common as these very modern single word short names you get for web apps now. But I think it is interesting. Oddly, though, it's really difficult to spell over the phone or really difficult to tell people over the phone. They can't quite understand exactly what it is because it sounds so straightforward.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's got a certain ring to it. Quite, as I say, it's sort of it intrigues a little bit, doesn't it? It makes you feel a bit curious about it. Yeah. So in terms of being curious about your services, you know, that seems quite a wide sort of remit in terms of marketing, online marketing. So could you sort of identify a few of the specific things that, or perhaps the most popular service that you provide?
Yeah, we do lots of different things. I think, and this is throughout, certainly working with Rather Inventive, it's been most difficult for me as a marketer to try and understand exactly what we do. And really, I had to go back to clients and ask them because from my point of view, I work with people on a monthly basis. So I'll go and see them or I'll work maybe remotely like this. And for me, it's about listening to the problems they've got in terms of marketing and helping them through those problems, whether they be quite technical or whether they need some help strategizing where they're going, really being a digital psychiatrist or a marketing psychiatrist, really, or therapist.
That's a good expression. I like
but it's been, I think the best way of describing it is from a client called Alex Kopok, Communion Architects in Hereford. And he said, Ben, when we work with you, good things happen. And I like that. But essentially what we do is we work with people on a regular basis and we help them put together their marketing, whether that be a social media plan, through to how that links in with video. Podcasting I'm particularly interested in, so that's always something I'm pushing quite heavily. How that links in with their website, if there's any automation, whether that's relevant. I love the technical aspect of it, particularly anything where I can get into the weeds and help them automate their systems and help understand the statistics. Really, that's where I sit well.
Okay, and you mentioned podcasting there. So I've been lucky enough to be a guest on your podcast. How long has that been going? I mean, you seem to be. Would you agree that it does seem to be quite a big trend at the moment? Lots of podcasts around lots of new ones being launched, and quite a bit of publicity about the whole sort of like genre. How's podcasting working out for you?
Well, we've been doing our particular podcast for over 2 years now.
Okay, quite a while then.
Monthly, so not as often as yours. I know you do your video weekly. I couldn't cope. I don't know how you do it, how you run a video show weekly, Jonathan. Well done.
Well, actually, if I can interrupt you there, I actually do a daily one now as well. It's just it's just a short one, but yeah, it's just a daily show with one particular social media item on there. So yeah, but back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. It takes me time to sort of build up the content. I mean, our shows tend to be about 45 minutes to an hour long, so they are longer, a bit more in depth. We go off into the weeds. We'll go off on a tangent into some detail, which is what I quite like. I guess we've developed it after podcasts that I've really liked, sort of longer form, regular, having the same people, having guests on there as well. Really diving into the detail and getting into some of the meaty content, which I quite like.
So does that leave people with actionable stuff to sort of take away? What would somebody listening get out of the podcast?
I hope so. Yeah, the way I look at it is I don't write. I'm not a writer. I'm not a blogger. So what the podcast is for me is a way of sharing my knowledge. So if I've come across some apps that I found really useful, or I've come across an article that's really insightful and given me some action to take forward, or any particular information I've found during the last month, or I've thought about, or a different way of working, then that comes out in the podcast. And it gives me a way of sharing that. So there are actions that come out of that. It isn't just a dialogue between two people. And then we have links to everything we've mentioned. So it then becomes a resource, so people can just dive back into our blog and say, oh, yeah, I listened to something where they talked about this particular piece of software. So I'm really aiming on building that up. And I've also been lucky enough, we do a special interview slot, which is outside of our regular monthly podcast as well, where I get people wanting to come on our show. I'm sure they want backlinks and they want exposure. But I've got to talk to some amazing people. I mean, just recently, I got to talk to Alex Galviz, who's
LinkedIn.
She started up with another lady. I'm sorry, I can't remember her involvement, her name in it, but they started up a scheme called LinkedIn Local, where they had basically regular networking meetings. It's sort of spawned all over the world now. It's been really big. She does a lot of consulting on that. So that was great. And I've had loads of a guy who used to work for Bing, and he helped develop schema.org, which is what's really quite useful in terms of getting sort of data onto your website, so Google can crawl it for reviews, products, and other data like that. He helped develop that. So I've had the opportunity to talk to some great people. So if anything, I'm getting a lot out of it, and hopefully I can share some of that with everyone else.
And you video the podcast as well, so it sort of goes out as a video show. How does that sort of dynamic work with the audio and the video?
So we started just with audio for the first year and a half or so. And then last year, I think it was October time, we were going to a conference. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Bath Digital. It's a fairly cheap conference throughout Bath, and you're sort of scurrying around to lots of different conferences there, and it's really amazing. If I can remember the link, I'll try and share it with you. But we wanted to do a live broadcast of our podcast there, so that's where we first started with video. We just took an iPhone with us and a mic, and just ran around talking about the conference and sharing our thoughts and a summary from each event we went to. I quite liked that format and I wanted to try and do something else. So a couple of months later, we started not only recording an audio our podcast, but doing video as well with screen sharing. So if we're looking at a website, we can actually show people and scroll through it. And
Okay, so a bit more instructional. That's what the extra dimension the video would give you there then.
yeah, and I've also had a lot of our clients, podcasting is an odd medium. I think people who like podcasts and listen to podcasts tend to go down the track of loving them. They find there's a lot of useful information there and they become fans.
Yeah.
That's what I found. But a lot of people don't know what a podcast is or how to get into listening to podcasts. So there seems to be quite a big barrier into it, whereas something like this video is being broadcast on a social channel that people are going to be looking at, and so it's going to pop up in their timeline. Or YouTube is built into Google search engine, so it's going to have a lot more discoverability, whereas podcasts, they're just not as easy to find. But once you find them, you tend to find, oh, this is a world, why didn't I discover this earlier?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We found that's one of the reasons we wanted to do video, is that we could have more discoverability on YouTube. So basically after recording, it gets edited by Claire and we publish it online, and we have been having a few more listeners that way. So it has been working.
Cool. So that has worked. Yeah. Cool. So what's your view on live video?
Well, it's interesting. When you gave me the link to publicize that I'll be on with you this morning, I put out a little cheeky note saying that come and see me sort of flounder under the weight of live video.
Well, you're doing very well, so I wouldn't say that.
It's more about beforehand. I do a lot of workshops in front of people, and we've also have our own live webinar, but I've not done anything that's live to the public. So that is a bizarre feeling. And I think the reason I struggle with it is because I think far too much in advance and I want to plan everything I'm going to say. And obviously you can't, but that's what I worry about. And that's always been something I've struggled with. And then I look at your videos and you do them regularly, you do them often, you do them well, they're concise, they're well thought out. So it's something I want to get into.
Cool. Look forward to seeing that. If anybody would like to say hi, or if you have any questions, please do ask. Elliot, good morning to you as well. We did pretty sure in the pre-publicity, I said that we were going to give out a few tips. So we haven't. Don't think we've kind of done that yet. So I think it'd be a good time to see if we can provide some value in that way, Ben. So let's talk about maybe websites and SEO. Any sort of particular pointers that you'd like to give people there at all?
I just want to say good morning to Elliot as well. He's from our WordPress group. He runs the WordPress group in Cheltenham. So good morning to you as well, Elliot. Okay. I'm actually doing a workshop on search optimization. Coming up in May. If people want to come to that, it's in Cirencester, a lovely place called Unicorn Co-working Space.
I've heard of it, but not been yet. Yeah,
it's very nice. Nice coffee, so I like that.
Oh, right.
If you go to our website, it is. If you go to our website, ratherinventive.com, and then you'll find events in the tab there. We've got lots of them. But yes, that's the best place if you want to go. I think really with search optimization and websites, a lot of people focus on what people can see, and obviously that's useful. So design is relevant to a website in terms of making sure that people can find the information they want, and it's presented in a way that's helpful to them. And obviously you want to get people to your website, so search optimization. So making sure you know what keywords people are looking for, typing in to Google to find you, and making sure that those keywords are on the main site. They're actually in your title page and they're present in the heading tags and throughout the content, that you really are talking about the topic you want to be found for. But I think the most important thing when it comes to search optimization, a little gem really that a lot of people don't know about, is Google Search Console.
Yes.
So I don't know if you use that, Jonathan, but
occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice tool that allows you to see into the database of Google. So you can see how people are searching for you online, whether your website is coming up for the keywords that you hope it's coming up for, what your position is in Google search. It can give you, if there are any errors on your website, it can give you the problems like, is it too slow? Is it working correctly on mobile? Have you got the right schema code in there that's going to help it? So actually, I think a lot of people focus on just keywords and making sure and usability, but I think also you want to be looking at Google Search Console. So it's going to give you a lot of tips and pointers in making sure the website's going to work well for them, for Google. And if you can make it work well for Google, that's going to give you some priority as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip, because it is something that people can do themselves, and it is from Google. So clearly it's going to be giving you the right data and the right information. So yeah, good one. Moving on to your sort of use of social media as a business. I mean, you're obviously sort of like B2B, so I imagine LinkedIn and Twitter would be your main sort of channels.
Yeah, I like LinkedIn myself for finding out information. I think it's a really good way to find out stuff that I should know about.
Do you think it's improving?
No,
no. That's interesting.
My thoughts are that I don't feel it's improving. I don't feel it's really growing. I feel I'm being more turned off about it. Really, in terms.
What don't you like about LinkedIn?
Twitter. This is LinkedIn.
Oh, Twitter, sorry.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I actually do like LinkedIn. I find from a point of view of conversations with individuals on there. If I post something, I find the conversations are there are fewer of them, but I think they're more useful. There are people sharing it and they're offering more insight into it, and there's more discussion and conversation that is more business related, rather than chaff and chatter. And I find that personally more interesting and useful. And I think as a social media platform, it's really growing and doing very well.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Sorry, I thought you were talking about LinkedIn initially there, but yeah, I would agree. Twitter's kind of like, it's quite hard work these days. I think it's still very good for conversation, obtaining news, reaching out to sort of high profile people. But I think the days of sort of linking to posts and that sort of thing are long gone. It doesn't really work for that. And as you say, the quality of the discussion isn't always at its best. I think the fact that LinkedIn, it's a simple one, but the fact that it is business focused, that really helps, because you haven't got all the other stuff that's going on, which Twitter and the other social networks have. So yeah, and they're bringing out a whole bunch of new features, aren't they? Did you see that they're? It was just as I was away for the weekend, but I think it was Friday. They announced that they're building in the Facebook style reactions to posts.
Oh no, I don't watch it closely. No.
Yeah, so that's coming in, and even today actually. So all the time, or over the weekend, all the time, there's new stuff, tagging of photos as well. So that's going to be handy. That'll be good for.
I did notice that actually when I was posting about Alex's podcast interview we did recently, that I could start tagging her name on the picture that I added on there. So
yeah. Oh, you might well have had that before me then, because I only got that this weekend. So yeah, but as a tip, I would encourage people to do that, because it's going to help SEO within LinkedIn, maybe even outside of LinkedIn, because it's just that bit of extra metadata that you're giving to the picture, but also good for awareness as well, so people can hover over the photo and see who you and anybody that you've tagged are. And whilst you're on that subject, did you notice that you can add in an alt tag as well to the photos? That's been around a little while, but
I did.
Relatively new. Yeah, so I'm sure you'd agree, again, from search and discoverability, it's a good idea to add in that little bit of info as well.
Right, yeah. I did have a question on LinkedIn, actually. I've been heard talks about LinkedIn live video, and I haven't noticed, as I said, I don't follow it so closely as you, but I wasn't sure if it was alive and working for people yet. But it's something, we were talking about doing live video earlier, and I think that LinkedIn could be a good platform for me on that. What's your thoughts on that?
So they have. It's not here yet. Live video is, and it seems to have been a long while coming, seeing as it's been available on other platforms. But they basically got full sort of recorded video now, so you can basically shoot some video on your phone and upload it via mobile now to the company page, to your profile or wherever you want. So that's all fully in place. Live video is definitely slated. I was on a official LinkedIn webinar the other day, and I think it is coming in the autumn. of this year. So and they'll probably test it with a few people before that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how it works, and also how it works compared with Facebook as well. So one to watch for sure. And maybe in future, because of the fact that they're owned by Microsoft, could be interesting if they get a bit of Skype sort of integration going on there in terms of video calls and that sort of thing, and maybe even webinars as well further down the line. So I think there's lots of potential for it almost becoming a bit of a more than a social network, really, more of a sort of like intranet-y kind of working type platform, place where you can go and actually do your work, a work sort of hub.
Yeah, and they were a little bit like this with their CRM that they were starting to. I mean, this was a couple of years ago, and I don't think it's still part of it, but they were trying to build LinkedIn into a place where you could store your CRM. Really, you didn't have to extract those details into anywhere else. You could use LinkedIn like that. I don't know if it's still used in that way. It seems that they have pulled that away.
Yeah, there's a Sales Navigator product, but yeah, I think what you're saying there is that all that stuff was there, but then they cheekily shipped it over to Sales Navigator, and then which you have to pay quite a bit more for. So but so it is there, although it's not really a fully fledged CRM yet. But again, it's got potential. So they are working a lot, I think, to develop it as more than a social network. Cool. If anybody watching has got any questions for Ben and I on anything digital, really, I guess, websites, videos, social media, please do feel free to ask, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, and we will do our best to reply. So just sort of last few minutes, the last sort of couple of questions, Ben. What are the plans for Rather Inventive's future? Anything new that you've just started, or anything sort of in the pipeline?
I have a problem, Jonathan. Maybe this is the time to admit it, but I like starting things. I've got lots of things on the go, and that's not ideal, really. I should focus on one thing and do it well and push it out there. But we have a couple of projects. I'm restarting doing workshops again. I haven't done them for years. When we started the business, that's one of the first things I did, go out and do free workshops. And I love doing it, but for some reason stopped. It became very hard. So actually this year we started doing workshops again, and going out there and finding partners where I can use their premises, and they're going to invite their audience, and I can put on a workshop for them that's hopefully relevant and interesting, and maybe we'll both get something out of it. So I've done a few now, and I'm so glad, because it's so nice to be back out there doing those sort of things. So that's really good. We've also started a new website called Inventive People, which is, I don't know if people have heard of sites like People Per Hour or Fiverr, which offer various different tasks to be done for a small fee. So I don't know, you go onto Fiverr and say, I want a logo designed, or I want a little bit of video edited, and someone will come on there and say, yeah, that's going to cost X amount, and I'll do that for you. So I wanted that sort of concept, but without all of the uncertainty of who you're working with. So what I wanted to do is use the contractors and contacts that we know and put them onto a website where people can say, yeah, I've got a hacked WordPress site, so I need that fixed. So they can go onto the website, go into the website section, and then click hack website, and they can buy that, and then they'll be put in touch with someone who can sort that out for them. Or copywriting, I need a blog written, or I need something proofreading, or I need a case study video, and really trying to boil it down to these sort of mini projects, because I do find a lot of people come to us for a certain thing. They want something. And to save time in terms of quoting, to make the whole system more efficient for everyone, and to have a preset price, we've come up with this idea. So it's all quite new. We only launched it at the end of last year, and slowly people are using it. But it's I think it's certainly in terms of I'm terrible. I don't know about you, Jonathan. Whenever I have to quote for anything, I spend far too long thinking about it. I think generally, as a rule, I overthink things, and really that's silly. You know, it's the same if you're building a website or you are putting in a marketing plan or whatever it might be. It's really the same series of steps, and so this is one of these ways to help my sanity in terms of not overthinking things. Maybe can I just mention one of the
yeah, of course, yeah.
And this I really like. It's called Say Hola. and it is a way for people to collect feedback. And also maybe get that feedback spread onto other social platforms like Twitter, Facebook, or something like Google My Business as well. And we developed it for our clients because one of the things that I find so difficult with working with our clients is to gather feedback, because there's lots of different ways that people gather feedback or testimonials or reviews on their business. And I wanted to create one way that they can do that and funnel everything down, and then that can be automatically pushed onto their website.
That's a really interesting idea. I'll have to check that out. So, question from Elliot. I'm a bit lame on LinkedIn, but I find that people I want to connect with aren't very active on there. What are your views on that? I'll go first. So that's a difficult one, but I guess you have got an advantage if at least they are on LinkedIn. So I would say probably just try and gently prod them in the sense of sending them messages, inviting them to groups, communicating with them in that way. And if they do post anything, then engage with that particular post, or even old posts or articles that they've put up there, just to sort of encourage them into using LinkedIn, perhaps a little bit more. And if you've got something that you can really link them to, an event or good blog post or something like that, by adding a bit of value, send them that, but use LinkedIn as the mechanism, and that just might get them involved. A tough one, but anything would you say to add to that, Ben, in terms of LinkedIn?
I think it depends how you look at it, Elliot. I think if you just look at LinkedIn and look at your contacts, you might see that they're quite passive and they're just consuming information, or you can't really see what they're doing. But I found that in posting maybe a link or just commenting on someone else's post, then you'll start to see more of a flurry of activity as people see it's more personal to them. So I think certainly tagging people in, certainly now with the photos, that seems like
that's
a good idea.
one.
Or bringing people into your post. They're more likely to, it seems to me anyway, they're more likely to comment and see it. And because you've got to remember that people may not engage because they've got lots of things being bombarded at them throughout the day. Whereas if you can put something with their name on it, where you want their attention, it seems to much more likely to happen.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's a simple one, isn't it? Commenting on stuff, but it's just that extra effort compared with clicking the like button that makes people don't do it, perhaps. But I think it does. It can pay huge dividends if you show an interest in other people's content, or ask them a question on it, or something like that. So that's a good one. Cool. So I think we're just about there. Just one final question, bit of a curveball. This one, I think I'm going to start asking all the guests this one. If you were to have a beer with anybody at all, who would you choose?
This is
and why?
Well, I would say, firstly, it would be you, Jonathan, of course.
Me?
I know
something more interesting than that, sure.
We've been trying to get a beer together for ages, so that's
that is true, I suppose.
You know, I don't know. You did ask me this question beforehand to prompt me, and my answer is, it's so difficult. There's some people I think it'd be really fantastic to meet someone like Steve Jobs. I would be awestruck. I don't know what I would say. So having a beer, I think I would be like jelly, and I wouldn't say a word. So I'd waste that time, frankly. But there's I don't know. I think it's such a difficult thing. There's so many different people from like games companies that I sort of find fascinating, or actually just how new companies have come to the fore, like Netflix or Era, and really sort of speaking to those managing directors or CEOs of those companies and saying, how do you do it? How do you start these things and have the energy, or someone like Elon Musk, really to sort of keep pushing things forward. So I don't know. Maybe let's go for you first, Jonathan, and then Elon Musk.
Plan the next one after that.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Elliot. Just got a thanks from Elliot there. So thank you for watching. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks to Elliot and everyone else who's been watching the show today, or if you're watching the replay. And big thanks to Ben. You've been a great guest, and lots of value there. And do you want to just give out your website, because I was on there this morning actually, and everything that you've talked about, podcasts and the new products and everything else, they're all on there, aren't they? So it's a good resource. So do you want to just give out that address again?
Yeah, just head over to ratherinventive.com, We should come up in search as well, and everything should be linked on there.
Yeah, feel free to drop that in the comments as well afterwards, Ben, so that people can find you and all the info. So that's it, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.